Hi, welcome to Liberty House. We're so happy you're here today.
With Liberty House, community partners come together
to serve and protect children
and start the process of healing. We tell our story once and people listen.
So I will adjust this mic this time so I wouldn't be frightening you. Oh, hello. How are you? Great. Welcome to the 2023 Champions for Children's Luncheon. It is always a great joy to see so many of you gathered together. I'm Eva Corbin, the board chair at Liberty House, and I'm so encouraged to see so many people who are ready to learn more about Liberty House. And I also see many familiar faces who already have joined us in our mission of changing hurt into hope. Among the familiar faces at my table, to your right, my left, is my husband, Michael, who is a great supporter of having me do a lot of things. And my pastors, Dave and Sister Kathy Leinenbach, and a good friend, Colleen. And many of the great faces out in the audience. Some of you I do know, and I thank you for being here. Well, we have so much to be grateful for. First, we would not be able to bring our message to the community and help the children we serve without business partners who are passionate about our mission and come alongside to build a brighter future. Our presenting sponsor for our Champion of Children's Luncheon is Edward Jones. Edward Jones has been an incredible supporter of Liberty House for many years, and we are grateful for all they do. Each local advisor chooses to give to make this sponsorship possible. If you're here with us in the room today, please stand so we can thank you. Let's give a huge, huge round of applause. Next is our platinum sponsor, Childhood Health Associates of Salem. Thank you for your substantial support of Liberty House's mission here today and for caring for the health of children in our community. May you please stand. Our second platinum sponsor is English Realty Group, KW Capital City. Thank you for joining us in our mission to change hurt into hope. Our final platinum sponsor is Rich Duncan Construction. Thank you for your incredible support you and your team have shown us throughout the years. Silver sponsors. Well, actually, I should start with the gold sponsors, shouldn't I? We shouldn't have silver leaping over the gold, right? I mean, gold leaping over the silver and all that stuff. We'd like to thank our gold sponsors. Capital Auto Group, KSLM Radio, KYKN Radio, and MAPS Community Foundation. Thank you for coming along on this mission and for your partnerships with so many of our community members. Now, silver. A huge thank you to our silver sponsors who are shown on the screens. All these businesses are integral partners in bringing us together today and raising funds for families we serve. Thank you so much. Of course, because of all of your great help with Liberty House funds, let's have one final thank you to all these great sponsors for making this gathering possible. It takes a heart of service to serve our community as a dignitary or elected official. Please join me in thanking those who dedicate themselves to making our community a better place. MDT Partners. Liberty House coordinates with outstanding partners to best serve the children and families in our communities. If you are a part of the Marion and Polk County Multidisciplinary Team, which are law enforcement, Department of Human Services, and the District of Attorneys, who play such an important role in keeping our children safe, please stand so we can thank you for your service. Being a board member requires investing time, expertise into a future where Liberty House continues to grow and change our community. If you serve alongside me as a member of the Liberty House Board of Directors, please stand. Thank you so much for all that you do. Volunteers, wow, finally, our volunteers, including our table captains, dedicate their free time to help us to take hope to where the hurt is for children and families, all out of the goodness of their hearts and passion for this mission. Please stand if you volunteer for Liberty House. Thank you so much. Well, I now have the honor of introducing our very special guest and keynote speaker. She previously worked at Liberty House, but her journey began many years earlier than when she joined our team. She is now a stay-at-home mom with 2 children. That's a great accomplishment. We are honored to have her share her experience with us. Please welcome to the stage, across the room, Taylor McGehee.
Good afternoon. I just want to start by saying that I feel truly privileged to be here speaking to you today about this amazing organization, because Liberty House holds a very special place in my heart. Not only does Liberty House have a tremendous impact in our community, but they have had a life-changing impact on one family in particular, on my family. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old. I'm sorry. We good? Okay, that better? All right. My parents divorced before I was 2 years old. And so for almost all of my childhood, it was spent going back and forth between one house and another. That was my normal. Just like the intense verbal and emotional abuse that I experienced from my mother for 10 years was also my normal. It was all I knew until she went away to basic training. And those 3 months while she was away, it was the first time that I could remember staying in one place without being yelled at and without being scared. So, when it was time for her to come home, I was very confused because I didn't want to go back with her. I had just spent this time having security and safety without realizing that, and I was really conflicted. This was my mother, and I loved her. But I was dreading being with her. So shortly thereafter, I kept questioning why I didn't want to spend time with her. And so I began to tell my dad about the things that she did, the things that she said, and the things that she yelled. And I remember sitting around our outdoor fireplace, completely shocked as I watched my father cry for the first time. Heartbroken and devastated to learn that his little girls were being abused, he brought us to Liberty House for help and guidance. Now, when a child comes to Liberty House for an assessment, they are taken into a calm and quiet room by a forensic interviewer. They're shown the cameras and the microphones, and they are provided a safe place to share what's happened to them. And then they go into another room for a comprehensive medical examination to determine and document the extent of any injuries. And next, they have a meeting with a family support specialist to talk about what happens next and to receive various resources. And then, before every child leaves, they get to select a handmade quilt and a stuffed animal to take home with them. Now, those comfort items, they might not seem like much. They might seem small to most people. But to the kids who are being seen at Liberty House, they mean everything. Personally, I had countless stuffed animals growing up, but very few of them were nearly as special as the little white dog that I selected to take home with me that day after my assessment. Now, as an adult, after having worked through my trauma, I smile every time I think about Liberty House because I am so incredibly thankful for the important work that they do. However, I did not smile much the day that I walked into Liberty House for the very first time. The abuse that I endured was ever present throughout my entire childhood. And like so many children, I found ways to cope. I found ways to survive without having any idea that that's what I was doing. So when I visited Liberty House as a child, I went through the confusing process of changing the way I viewed how I was treated. And going somewhere special to tell someone about my experiences, I began to realize for the first time that my mother was wrong. She was wrong in the way that she treated me. She was wrong in the things that she said. And I realized for the first time that my fears were valid. Now, that might seem straightforward, but it didn't make any sense to me. Learning that you can't trust one of your parents goes against everything you're taught as a child. Yet, harder than that confusion was the discomfort that I felt that day. I don't remember much about my forensic interview, but I do remember lying there during my medical examination. I remember feeling scared and feeling uncomfortable, but having no idea why I felt that way. The staff, they were extremely friendly, and they did a great job of doing everything in their power to make me feel safe. But even though my brain knew that I was safe, I was in a safe place, my body was on full alert because my body was trying to warn me of a danger that it had once endured. My body was trying to warn me of a danger that wasn't present. In working through my traumas and dealing with my triggers, I have learned that the way I coped with the worst of my trauma was to repress it completely. So completely that I did not know that I had been sexually abused until I was an adult, after a trigger took me back to that dark place. Today, I understand. I understand what was going on back then. I know why my body felt unsafe in a safe setting. I know why I was so confused then. And I'm actually truly thankful for having had that experience and gone through that, because my evaluation at Liberty House, it led to my ability to start down the road of healing. Now, when I'm triggered, I'm able to remind myself of why I'm triggered. I'm able to bring myself back to the present and to remind myself that I truly am safe now. And as an adult, I have had the very special experiences of going through the prevention trainings at Liberty House, of being a donor, and of even having been a Liberty House employee. However, my most vivid memory of Liberty House was walking the hallway, lined with stuffed animals as a 10-year-old, and getting to select this little white dog to take home with me after my assessment. Now, this same dog that I chose all those years ago, she lives in our living room as a reminder to myself, to my husband and my children, of the hope that can be found when people listen, when people stand up for children who need help. As a teenager, I spent a good deal of time thinking about the type of mother that I wanted to be someday. Not only did I want to learn from the mistakes of those who had hurt me, but I wanted to ensure that my kids would never be hurt the way that I was. I wanted to ensure that they would always feel safe with me and know that they are loved no matter what they do. And it was so important to me that I focus on this because I knew that without proper intervention, without help and healing, unfortunately, children who are abused, they can grow up to become adults who abuse their children. And that right there is why Liberty House is so incredibly important. Because Liberty House, they not only provide the very first step in intervening by listening to children and validating their concerns, validating their fears and their emotions, but they also provide ongoing support in the form of counseling, which is vital to the road of healing. And they provide training to help prevent abuse in the first place. I survived my childhood by looking for the positive things in life, but I am thriving as an adult because my father assembled a team of heroes, Liberty House, who listened to me and they provided the necessary help and resources. A counselor to help me work through my triggers, to make sense of what had happened to me, and to stand up for my sister and I in court. The judge and the parenting time coordinator who helped my sister and I to get away from our mother who would not accept help on her own path of healing. And most importantly, my grandparents, especially my Nana Mary, because they loved me unconditionally. Sorry. Because I had people, them, to love me and to show me and demonstrate what healthy relationships look like. And who were there for me and supported me in everything I did. Sorry. And it was with the help of those heroes and the comfort from the little stuffed dog and over a decade of very hard, intentional work on my part to process through my trauma and to learn from the mistakes of those who hurt me. It's because of all that that I am able to stand here today and to say that I broke that cycle of abuse that I grew up in. I have 2 beautiful children, one of which you've been hearing babble over there. And I'm so thankful because they have never been hurt in the ways that I was. And I can tell you that I continue to work every day on my issues because I don't want them to become their issues. And in those moments when I am holding my children, incredibly thankful for the safe and happy lives that they are living. I think back to the start of the journey, and I think back to Liberty House, because Liberty House was my first step towards healing, and they not only gave me hope, but they are the reason that I have tremendous hope for my children and wonderful hope for the thousands of children who are helped by them, just like I was. Thank you.
Wow. Honestly, Taylor, thank you. Thank you for sharing yourself with us, and thank you for being on our team. And thank all of you for being here. Look at you. This is a community that cares about and invests in children. Let's hear it for Taylor one more time. Wow. I'm Allison Kelly. It is my honor to serve as the CEO for Liberty House. And I have another group of people, in addition to our amazing professional NDT partners, who encounter such danger nearly every day that they are on the road or on patrol. Thank you, by the way. I would like to thank another incredibly special group of people. If you work for Liberty House, if you are one of our employees, could you please stand so that we can thank you for what you do? Violence is not healthy for children. This is the room where we get to say, abuse is not good for children. Neglect is not good for children. We know it, and we have to say it sometimes. Children need love, care, nurturing, safety, education, and protection. And when children are on the receiving end of violence or abuse, even if they witness it, it harms them. It harms their minds, their emotions, and their physical well-being. Back in 1999, when Liberty House was founded, it was still thought that the mind, body, and emotions were separate. It was also thought way back in the day that abuse was relatively rare. Where we sit today, we now know that abuse and neglect are not rare, they're pervasive, and that the mind, body, and emotions of children are part of one complex, intertwined, interconnected system inside. It's why a child will end up with a tummy ache, and that's all they can say when they don't want to go to school because of the bullying. They're little, they can't articulate it. And our tendency sometimes is to be like, well, it's all in your head. Get up, get going so you don't miss the bus. Well, it is in their head, and it's in their hearts and their minds and their emotions. And if they can't articulate it, the body absorbs it, and that's kind of the body's way of saying, let me tell you something, I'm hurting. And contrary to what we used to think, children do remember. They remember, if not consciously, subconsciously, and in every tissue. And Taylor, thank you again for bringing out the fact that it's so important for us to lean in, because healing is possible, and these cycles don't have to repeat across generations. You might not necessarily be aware. How many are employers in the room? Raise your hand. If you have staff that work for you, right? Like, you might not necessarily know everything. You might not necessarily be aware that that employee who's so angry or so shut down, or flares up at the slightest thing, that can be, not always, but that can be the face of trauma. And we know how the body remembers trauma. And that's why years ago, thank you to the board of Liberty House, we opened up our counseling services for adult survivors of childhood trauma. because we want to heal, and healing is possible. And trauma is what's happening inside. For some children, it might have been an isolated major event. For others, it might have been years of abuse, neglect, physical or sexual, or a combination. So, the thing about trauma is that it doesn't get filed away. Traumatic experiences don't get filed away neatly in a filing cabinet. Any detective will tell you that interviewing children who've experienced trauma is really different from interviewing grown-ups, because their memories are stored in different places, sequentially, non-sequentially in their brains. It's a protective mechanism. It's a mechanism inside all humans that prevents us from being overwhelmed by the reality of what we're experiencing. So that's why the details don't often come out in a cohesive story. And if our response as a system is uncoordinated, because the way we adults respond to disclosures of trauma counts for everything, if it's uncoordinated, we can actually make things worse. When it's coordinated, we can make things better for kids. And that's why children's advocacy centers were developed. We're about to look at a picture on the screen that shows without a children's advocacy center, children might have to go to many different places: the doctor, the hospital, the DA's office, law enforcement, police station. But with these CACs, and there are over 24 of them in the state of Oregon, over 950 across the country, we have a model that puts the child at the center, and our partners and professionals can come to that child, and that child can receive a range of services from teams of trauma specialists, folks who know how to work with children, how to get down on their level, how to give them lots of time. Trauma can be sudden and invasive, and the healing from trauma takes time and requires lots of opportunity for consent. Trauma takes away children's power and agency, and a good response at a CAC, with the cooperation, with the involvement of all of our collaborative partners, can help restore the power that children have. So when children come to Liberty House, depending on the needs, we only schedule what they need. They will be seen by a specially trained medical provider, possibly a child forensic interviewer. We try not to ask children too many times, so that's why we coordinate our response. So it can include a medical checkup and family support for the parent or caregiver. We have special rooms where law enforcement and DHS can observe those child statements in real time. They can work together to make sure that we do a thorough job, and then a detailed report is prepared and is allowed to be used in court to help children be safe and to help hold offenders accountable. Trauma doesn't happen for children just because parents, in some cases, it is because parents don't know better, they don't have what they need. In some communities, well, in some cases, in communities all over the world, it's an intentional act, and there are offenders that need to be held accountable for that to keep other children safe. What's really amazing about Liberty House is that then we also offer, in addition to the diagnosis and the report, trauma-focused psychotherapy to help children make sense of what they've experienced, learn that it wasn't their fault, rediscover all the parts inside them that weren't damaged, and get connected with what the possibilities are for their future. So what are we doing at Liberty House to prevent trauma from happening in the first place? We have a whole team now, thanks to your investment. We have a whole team of prevention specialists now, and they provide training throughout Marion and Polk counties to help children be safe, including this amazing new program, I Respect and Protect, which was born from your input, and with your input and guidance, it's now a website, and we provide free resources for children, youth, families, and youth-serving professionals to help them stay safe. Social media specifically is absolutely dangerous for children, and there are a lot of really important things that we can do to help children to be safe. So at Liberty House, one way to think about us is we are your trauma kit. We are your trauma emergency kit. We do all kinds of things to help children be safe and to heal. What's really exciting is the progress we've made over the years and with the investment of everybody in the room and in our community. Back in 2006, way back in the day, we were only serving about 226 children a year. In 2014, we launched a new group of business and corporate sustaining donors. We'll talk about sustaining donors in a second. Because there's a business argument. It's so pervasive that any of our employees could have lives that are affected by it, and if they can have a good response, they can get back to work, which is really where they want to be, and that's just better everybody all the way around. Where that arrow is on the screen, look at what happened after that. That's all of the service expansion that we were able to accomplish because of the investment of our local business community. Thank you for that. Yeah. We've served over 3,500 kids and families after the result of all of these services coming together. Your investment has allowed us to open a satellite clinic in West Salem, which really helps close the distance gap for our kids who live in Dallas, Monmouth, Independence, and other unincorporated areas in Polk County. I don't think we're finished yet. And if you want to know what's next, today we have with us our mayor from the city of Woodburn and the city administrator. We're so grateful for all of you to be here. They invited Liberty House to set up a satellite clinic in Woodburn to serve Woodburn and all of North Marion County. And we did a lot of research and a lot of due diligence, and we have signed a lease. And that is what the campus will look like. We're undergoing some remodeling right now, and we are really excited. What we hear from families so much of the time is the distance prevents them from being able to get to the services that they really want. And we are closing that transportation gap. So why do we need sustaining donors? I know, right? It's so cool. We're really excited. So why do we need sustaining donors? What you'll see on this graph, our expenses, that's the red line, stay relatively constant except for those moments when we find out that a tree root has interfered with the plumbing or the plumbing is interfering with itself. The expenses can go up. But without a sustaining donor program, the contributions go up and down, like you see on the green line, and that is just not a sustainable business model. Right now, we have 500 sustaining donors, and that number has been pretty constant over the years. For a budget our size and a staff of employees our size, we really need to double that. And so you will hear more about that later, but I'm really hoping that all of you will consider joining our team. It's a pretty incredible team. We have some pretty big dreams. We have pretty big dreams for the future. We have had children leave the clinic, and we just happened to overhear, because we were sitting in that beautiful children's garden, saying like, oh my God, this was the best day of my life. For the first time, somebody listened to me. And that is the first step to healing. It is amazing. So thank you for being here. This is a community that cares about children. You don't have to take it from me. I am so excited to introduce to you Montserrat Pantoja, Director of the Woodburn Family Learning Center. Please give her a very warm welcome.
Hello to everyone. Woodburn Family Learning Center is a licensed childcare facility for children from 0 months to 12 years old. It's located in Woodburn since 1971. We offer a safe, happy, and healthy environment for children. Woodburn Family Learning Center es un centro de cuidado infantil para niños de 0 a 12 años, ubicado en Woodburn desde 1971. Ofrecemos un ambiente seguro, feliz y saludable para los niños. Every year, Woodburn Family Learning Center employees need to complete a series of required trainings for licensing. One day, I was in Salem taking a training, and someone mentioned Liberty House. I did not have an idea what the organization was about, but I decided to take a flyer with me. Later, I was looking for a training to complete my licensing hours, and I remember that I had a flyer about some training. I took the flyer and I registered for Guardianes de los Niños training. I really enjoyed the training and love everything about it. I registered to receive more information regarding trainings, and little by little, I have learned more about Liberty House. Cada año, los empleados de Woodburn Family Learning Center deben completar una serie de capacitaciones requeridas para obtener la licencia. Un día estaba en un entrenamiento en Salem y alguien mencionó Liberty House. No tenía idea de qué se trataba esta organización, pero decidí llevar un volante. Más tarde, estaba buscando una capacitación para completar mis horas y recordé que tenía un volante sobre alguna capacitación. Tomé el folleto y me registré para la capacitación Guardianes de los Niños. Realmente disfruté el entrenamiento y amo todo lo relacionado con él. Me registré para recibir más información sobre capacitaciones y poco a poco he aprendido más sobre Liberty House. Since then, I have been motivating all my staff to take the trainings with me. I think it's a great advantage that not only for childcare providers, but also for parents and other caregivers can benefit from Liberty House trainings in English or Spanish. Desde entonces, he motivado a todo mi personal para que tomen las capacitaciones conmigo. Creo que es una gran ventaja que no solo los proveedores de cuidado infantil, sino también los padres y otras personas se puedan beneficiarse de las capacitaciones de Liberty House en español y en inglés. As a child care director of Woodburn Family Learning Center, knowing the great work of Liberty House does and is now in my Woodburn community makes me feel really happy. Woodburn, it's a growing community that needs to have a local resources because many families face obstacles when they're looking for help for their children, like language barriers or lack of reliable transportation. Como directora de Woodburn Family Learning Center, conocer el gran trabajo que hace y realiza Liberty House ahora en mi comunidad de Woodburn me hace sentir muy feliz. Ahora es una comunidad en crecimiento que necesita recursos locales, porque muchas familias enfrentan obstáculos cuando buscan ayuda para sus hijos, como barreras de idioma o falta de transporte confiable. It's impressive that organizations like Liberty House are choosing to have offices in Woodburn, and as a child care provider, it gives us a great relief to be able to have resources for our families. Now, the Woodburn Family Learning Center and Liberty House work for the same cause, bringing hope for children. We know that the families will be able to have better prevention and assessment resources when and where they need them. Es importante que organizaciones como Liberty House elijan por tener oficinas en Woodburn y como proveedores de cuidado infantil nos da un gran alivio de poder tener recursos para nuestras familias. Ahora que Woodburn Family Learning Center y Liberty House trabajan para una misma causa, trayendo esperanza para los niños, sabemos que las familias podrán tener mejores recursos de prevención y evaluación cuando y donde lo necesiten. Thank you. Gracias. Now, please welcome the stage the owner and managing director of SBN Commercial Advisor, Kurt Arthur.
Thank you, Montserrat. It's not always easy to get up here, so please, if you would, on behalf of the staff, everybody at Liberty House, Taylor, you did an amazing job. Montserrat, thank you very much. Let's give him another big round of applause. So before I start, I do have a disclaimer. My speech will not be in English and Spanish. If it did, it would be uno, dos, tres. It would probably involve cerveza, pollo, asada. That's about it. So, thanks for being here today. For those of you who have not had a chance to meet, I'm Kurt Arthur. I'm just a commercial real estate broker here in town that loves this community and honored to be invited to be here today, very humbled. We're very appreciative, everybody at Liberty House is so appreciative of each and every one of you taking the time out of your busy schedules to not just be here, but your ability to support this amazing organization. You know, I've had the good fortune of standing here for a number of different events since the convention center was built, and as I'm sure most of you have as well. But look around this room. Do me a favor, just look around. How many times have you been here and this room has been this full? It's pretty rare, right? That tells you something. You know, I think it's really funny that this organization last year would invite my friend, the used car salesman, Dick Withnell, to do the pitch at the end of this, and now they ask the guy who schleps commercial real estate to come in here and sell you at the end of this great event. But let me tell you something. I'm not here to sell you. As a matter of fact, honestly, I'm not even here to ask you for a donation. I'm here to lend you some perspective. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My entire adult life in Salem, I've had the good fortune of being involved, as a ton of you have, in a lot of boards of directors of some great organizations in this marketplace. I've had the good fortune of chairing a number of those boards, served on committees, et cetera, as many of you have. And lastly, over the last 15 years or so, I've had the huge pleasure of serving as a grant evaluator for the Oregon Community Foundation, which is one of the largest community foundations in the United States. And all of that activity has lent me some amazing perspective. And I'm going to shock you by that, but I want to share it with you. And it might be a little controversial, but just bear with me. My perspective is this. If you are a part of a nonprofit organization, I believe that when you charter your organization, and for every day of your existence, your number one goal should be to put yourself out of business. Think about that. Let that sink in, right? The nonprofits in our communities across the United States are there to serve a need. Well, the need is caused by something, right? And ultimately, a community's goal, an organizational goal, should be to take the root evil of that cause and make it go away. Is that a lofty ideal? Of course it is. Can it happen? Sure it can. Look at Taylor, right? She's curing this situation. Now, if Taylor is verbal and we tell Taylor's story, that goes down less or more and more and more and more, right? And lastly, I believe in this community. This community is unbelievably supportive to organizations and causes that can make this community better. I believe in a community that can heal. I believe in a community that can craft the solutions necessary to make itself better. But until that day happens, it's our job to shine a light. There's a lot of nonprofits in this community, right? Simple fact is, we really are the holy grail in the state of Oregon for nonprofits in the state of Oregon. There's more nonprofits in Marion County per capita than any other county in the state of Oregon. Well, why is that? Well, look at our surroundings. We have the prison system, we have the Oregon State Hospital, but mainly because our chief funding source, state capital, is right down the street, right? So what is our job right now? Our job as community leaders, and I know no one does a better job than this than my buddy Dick Withnell, is to shine a light on those organizations that shine the brightest. Those organizations that put the work in to prove to each and every one of us that they are worthy of your investment. Notice I didn't say donation. Your investment, because that investment will provide you with its guaranteed highest rate of return. They have the track record to show that every dollar that we put into Liberty House is going to They are unbelievable stewards of those dollars, and they're going to be put to great use. This organization started in 1999 with a simple goal of assisting kids in many situations that go through things in their lives that, quite frankly, many of us cannot fathom. With the tremendous leadership, Allison, Bruce, the staff, the amazing set of volunteers, this organization has gone from, quite frankly, relative obscurity back in the early 2000s to currently being considered one of the great nonprofit organizations in the Willamette Valley. They have become a household name in certain sectors when it comes to kids, and the work that they are doing is unbelievable. Let me digress a little bit and tell you a little bit of a story. And a couple of you maybe have heard me say this in the past, but I was really raised in this town by great parents. My dad, who was really active in this community back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, was asked once in an interview, why are you so darned involved in everything in this community? And his answer has been a guiding light for me, my adult life. And that is this. There's a third of the community that takes and never gives back a thing. There's a third that takes from the community and gives back an equal amount to what they've taken. So that means there has to be a third of the community that takes and gives back infinitely more to make up for those who never gave back a thing. Okay? You are here today because you are a part of that last third that my dad was talking about, right? You are here because you believe in Liberty House. You are here because you believe that an investment in an organization like Liberty House makes this organization, our community, and our children healthier, happier, and safer. And we appreciate you being here. With that, I want to talk a little bit about the next part, and that's going to come to your table captains. I do not want you to think in terms of a donation. You've heard nothing but the word investing, an investment today. I want you to think about making an investment in the future of the children in this community so that we can do what we talked about. Help our friends at Liberty House not only service the need, but step by step by step, like Taylor's doing right now, eradicate the cause altogether if that's possible. Table captains, if you would please bring out your packets, I would surely appreciate it. I want to read through to you what the options are for each and every one of us to help in this cause. You can use your pledge card given to you by your captain, or you can scan the QR code that is on your pledge card to do everything digitally. And everybody, I want you to understand something. A lot of us write big checks to the federal government and the state government. Everything you're doing here today is a tax write-off, and tax deductible. I don't want to say write-off, and we appreciate that. The best way to provide consistent resources to every child who needs assessments, therapy, or prevention is to become a sustaining donor. With Liberty House's trajectory of growth, as Allison mentioned, we need to step up and serve the community on a more consistent basis. Our pledge card, on your pledge card, please indicate how much you think you can be able to donate on a monthly or annual basis. We really invite you to become a hero of the house, a champion for the children, or a patron for the children. I hope you'll join my family in becoming a sustaining investor with Liberty House. You can also donate through your business or your corporation and join Liberty House Business and Corporate Sustainers Group. If you could, please indicate if that's the case, what your business name is, then select the level in which you'd like to give, whether monthly or annually. There's also, let me go back. If you're already a sustainer, thank you. Liberty House Allison talked about, we're at around 500 sustaining donors. This organization, ladies and gentlemen, has to be at 1,000. Anything you can do today to help us to get to that level is sincerely appreciated. Maybe you want to give a one-time gift or an annual gift. Please check the box amount of chosen, or select other if you want, if there's a different amount you'd like to give. And on the back of your pledge card, you can fill out your payment information. Obviously, Liberty House is going to accept ACH, check, cashes, bank cards, credit cards, etc. You can also request information about attending a tour through Liberty House, taking prevention training, or even becoming a volunteer by checking the right boxes. And lastly, critical way you can help today is by becoming a voice for hope. When children are silenced, someone needs to hear their voice. Now, you may not be a medical provider. You may not be a therapist, but you can be a voice for our children. Members of this group help invite people throughout Marion and Polk counties to learn more about Liberty House, to take a tour of Liberty House, to have a luncheon together, to maybe host a dinner party at your house so that we, I say we, the volunteers and the staff and the team at Liberty House can come in and help educate people about the great work that they are doing. When you're done, please return your pledge cards to your table captain. Thank you for coming together today to support this great mission. I hope your contribution to Liberty House keeps us equipped, and it's going to keep us ready to serve the children and the families who need us most. If you're investing today, you're investing in a pivotal change in our community, and we couldn't do it without you. Special thanks to our table captains and our volunteers today. Table captains, please take home the small bear figurine that's in the middle of your table as a sign of our appreciation and for the impact that you've had in this great organization. Isn't that cute? I hear the aww. Ladies and gentlemen, as I think you've heard me say, there's a couple handfuls of organizations in the Mid-Willamette Valley that deserve your support, and I think you've learned today why Liberty House deserves the support from each and every one of us. Thank you all for being here today. A little side note, happy 100th birthday to Jerry Frank. We miss you. Great day today. So thank everybody for coming. Have a wonderful, safe day.